Barakata Yahweh, Barakata Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Barakahakudash, Barakatum. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, glory, and infinite honors to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone who rule and teach well. And peace and salutations to you sincere Akim out there, pushing this word in truth and sincerity to the four corners of the globe. May you brothers endure until the end. This is the Brother Ra'aya with another video, and in this video, I'll be profiling an article from the economiccollapseblog.com titled, Trump Says the U.S. is now like a third world country as the supply chain crisis gets even worse. And as we'll see from the information in this article, it's just another example to show that we truly are living in the last seconds of these last days, the last seconds of the rulership of the heathen nations, chiefly of the Edomites or the so-called white people, before the ushering in of the kingdom of heaven under the true children of Israel, who were known as the so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans. Today, biblical prophecy is taking place right before our very eyes. They keep promising us that things will start getting better. When will that actually happen? As pursuant to Matthew chapter 24, verse 8, it won't, because all these things taking place are just the beginning of sorrows. Once winter was over, the supply chain crisis was supposed to be on the way out. Instead, as you will see below, even CNN is being forced to admit that it is getting even worse. The war in Ukraine and a new wave of Kragamuffin lockdowns in China are being blamed, but those are only two pieces of the puzzle. The truth is that we are now in the third year of this epic supply chain crisis, and there is no end in sight. On Tuesday, Donald Trump told an interviewer that he is greatly disturbed by what he is currently witnessing. You go to a store, you don't have bread. We're like a third world country. They don't have things. You go to buy something at Tiffany. You go to buy something at a hardware store. High, low, they don't have products. And in the scriptures, it speaks of store shelves becoming empty. This is 2 Esdras chapter 6 in the Apocrypha, verse 22. And suddenly shall the sown places appear unsown. The full storehouses shall suddenly be found empty. Supply chain disruptions leading to emptier and emptier shelves at these different stores, from food to clothing, hardware, electronics, etc., etc. Again, you go to a store, you don't have bread. We're like a third world country. They don't have things. You go to buy something at Tiffany. You go to buy something at a hardware store. High and low, they don't have product. And suddenly shall the full storehouses be found empty. Of course, Trump is 100% correct. Throughout our entire economy, there are shortages, delays, and backlogs. Trump himself has been personally affected by this. In fact, in the interview, he appeared to refer to a wait of 9 months for something that he had ordered. They say, even me, when I order things, like for furnishings, for a building or something, they say it's going to take 9 months to get it, Trump said. Used to be like same-day service. Prior to 2020, most Americans never would have imagined that this sort of supply chain crisis could be possible. And a lot of these supply chain disruptions are being artificially manufactured by the elites, the Rothschilds, Rockefellers, DuPonts, Gettys, Merovingians, you name it, to get people in a panic state out here and start to riot and go crazy, so that would justify them in bringing in a state of martial law to further implement their NW0, the GREAT, that fourth industrial revolution, which is ultimately going to culminate in you people having to mandatorily take the charagma, the MOTB, in Revelation chapter 13, verses 16 to 18, the RFID/NFC, MICROCHIPIMPLANT. But here we are, and according to CNN, experts are openly admitting that our supply chain problems are now getting worse. Problems with global supply chains were supposed to be getting better by now. Instead, experts say they are getting worse. Russia's invasion of Ukraine which cut off exports from Ukraine and put Russian businesses under sanction, has set off a series of new supply chain bottlenecks. Remember, order ab chaos, order out of chaos. So has a surge in Kragamuffin cases in China, which has led to temporary lockdowns in part of the country. So when will things finally start getting better? When the war in Ukraine ends? I wouldn't hold my breath on that one. When the Kragamuffin situation is over. If you are waiting for that to happen, you're going to be waiting for an awfully long time. And what is going to happen if another major black swan event comes along? We are so vulnerable right now, and we should have never allowed ourselves to become so deeply dependent on other nations. For example, once upon a time, the US had a dominant position in global computer chip manufacturing, but now the vast majority of our chips come from overseas, and the war in Ukraine is threatening to take the chip shortage to an entirely new level. Ukraine and Russia don't produce computer chips used by global automakers, but Ukraine is the world's leading source of neon, a gas needed for the lasers used in the chip-making process. While some chip makers have stockpiled neon ahead of the fighting, there are concerns about the long-term availability of the gas. People expected the semiconductor shortage to continue, but nobody predicted Ukraine, said Bernard Zwicky, Director of Research at the Center for Automotive Research, a Michigan think tank. Not being able to get specific parts for these cars, leading to a shortage of new cars being manufactured. Again, the full storehouses shall suddenly be found empty car lots. The chip shortage is already affecting almost every industry in America to at least a certain degree, and now we are being told that it could get a lot worse in the months ahead. This is really bad news. As shortages intensify, that is going to make our raging inflation crisis even more severe as well. There's way too much money chasing way too few goods and services, and that will remain the case for the foreseeable future. What this means is the standard of living for most Americans is going to continue to go down. According to a prominent economist, the average American should budget an extra $5,200 this year for higher prices. Meanwhile, economists with Bloomberg are warning that the average American should budget an extra $5,200 this year for higher prices, or an extra $433 every month. And with the average American already struggling with stagnating wages, dollar devaluation leading to inflation and hyperinflation, how many will actually have an extra $5,200 to put by for the year, or even an extra $433 to put by for every month? But now I'm going to go to Revelation chapter 6, verse 6, and this is dealing with the 4 different colored horses, which people refer to as the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse, but they weren't literal men in robes riding horses. These were symbolic for different things that would be taking place in the last days. And I heard a voice in the midst of the 4 beasts say, a measure of wheat for a penny, and 3 measures of barley for a penny. And see, thou hurt not the oil and the wine. And when we go into that word penny, in the Strong's, it's Strong's G 1220.
Strong's G 1220. Denarion. Denarion.
Denarion. A denarius equals containing 10, a Roman silver coin in New Testament times. It took its name from it being equal to 10 asses, and an ass was another Roman coin, first made out of bronze and then later copper. So a denarius, as it says, is equal to 10 asses, a number after 217 BC, increased to 16, about 3.898 grams or 0.1375 ounces. It was the principal silver coin of the Roman Empire. From the parable of the laborers in the vineyard, it would seem that a denarius was then the ordinary pay for a day's wages. And this is the main part I want to hearken on, where it says a denarius was then the ordinary pay for a day's wages, in the law, in the scriptures, a person would be paid for the same day that they worked, and was much the same in a lot of other ancient civilizations. But nowadays, people are usually paid every 2 weeks, which is wicked. So let's say the minimum wage you make is $7.25 an hour, and you work 5 days a week and get paid every 2 weeks. Every 2 weeks, you get about $580 to $600. So what it's saying is that a measure of wheat for a penny or a denarius. Remember, the day's wages for a person in the ancient world, and 3 measures of barley for a penny. So in modern times, people would be paying their entire wages that they make every 2 weeks to get whatever little bit of foods available. And on top of them not only having to pay for expensive food, but having to pay for rent, gas, and their other amenities, people are going to bug out here and start getting savage and chaotic and animalistic and attacking each other, robbing each other, and even killing each other, since they can't afford what's in the stores and the store shelves are already empty. This is 2 Esdras chapter 15, verse 19. A man shall have no pity upon his neighbor, but shall destroy their houses with the sword. And what's the modern day sword in the US? The gun. And spoil their goods because of the lack of bread, the full storehouses being found empty, and for great tribulation, all these other calamities that are about to take place. And I've said in previous videos that even though you're still able to find things in stores, people are already resorting to fighting each other and looting these stores. Some Walmarts have had to put metal cages with sensors on their meats because people are trying to steal the meats. And up at an eatery in Pennsylvania, some people got in a fight due to that place running out of steaks. Meanwhile, economists with Bloomberg are warning that the average American should budget an extra $5,200 this year for higher prices, or an extra $433 every month, a measure of wheat for a penny and 3 measures of barley for a penny. Economists Andrew Husby and Anna Wong write that households can expect to pay thousands more in 2022 for the same basket of goods and services they used last year. Needless to say, this is just the beginning. The inflationary spiral is going to continue to escalate until we have a full-blown nightmare on our hands. And with each passing month, money will just get tighter and tighter for hardworking American families. In fact, one survey has found that 20% of all U.S. workers are now completely running out of money between paychecks. Now workers are running out of money faster, Salary Finance found. Roughly 20% of employees regularly run out of money between paychecks, up from 15% last year, according to the survey of more than 3,000 working adults in February. Making ends meet is going to become increasingly painful, and the shortages and the price hikes are just going to intensify in the months ahead. And what's that going to lead to? A man having no pity upon his neighbor and spoiling their houses with the force of the sword due to the lack of bread and for great tribulation. Some of the things that we will soon see will be absolutely unprecedented. For example, one of Steve Quayle's readers says that the price of eggs is about to double at her local store. I know I sent an email out to you both in regard to the warnings I was given by several different store managers. Well, I have another one. Yesterday, the store manager at Priceless Foods told me that the price of eggs will be doubling and there will be a massive shortage of eggs. I am lucky to live in an area where I can purchase fresh eggs from several different people who have chickens. Not everyone can. The reason why the price of eggs is going to rise so dramatically is because of the new bird flu situation that has already killed more than 14 million chickens and turkeys. We are being hit by so many things at once, and the American people are becoming quite restless. And again, remember, we're just living in the beginning of sorrows. It's about to get a hell of a lot worse from here on out. So that's it with this video. And with this video, I hope you sincere Akim and Akwath were edified. Just keep strong. As we can clearly see, we're almost out of this final wicked captivity of the heathen nations, chiefly of the Edomites. And as always, I'm going to say Abad Babal, Kwam Yasharallah, and until next time, Shalom.